Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how I took an old sweater that I do not wear and made a hat and mittens or gloves out of it. So first you're going to take your old sweater, you're going to inspect it and see where you want to cut the hat out of. So I have a hat that I really like, and so I used that to basically measure out the hat that I'm going to make from the sweater. I laid the hat up on top of the sweater and cut both layers of the sweater at the same time, leaving about a 1/2 inch seam allowance around the edges. This hat is going to have a rim that's going to fold over, so I left room on this sweater on the material that I cut out to have it fold over. Then I'm going to turn it around and put the good sides of the material together because that's how we're going to sew it. But before we sew the two pieces together, we're going to take each piece of fabric, fold it in half, and cut a small notch at the very top. So about 2 or 3 inches wedge at the very top. And you're going to sew that open notch together, and that's going to create the cross stitch pattern at the top of the hat when we're done sewing it together. So after I cut the material out and put the notch in, I'm going to take some satin fabric and cut a piece out of that so I can make a lining for my hat. That way my satin lining hat will protect my hair. So cut the satin fabric out, and cut the notch out as well. So now you'll have 2 pieces of satin fabric and 2 of the sweater material. Fold the pieces good sides together and line up the notch. And we're going to take that to the sewing machine and stitch right at where we cut the notch open. Once we've done that, we have all 4 pieces of our material ready to go to the next step. So I'm going to take the 2 pieces of satin fabric that have been stitched along the notch and going to put the good sides together. I'm going to try to line up the notches pretty good so that when we sew everything together, we'll have a cross pattern at the very top. So put the 2 pieces together and pin them together along the edges. I'm going to do the same thing with the fabric from the sweater. Put the good sides together, line up the notches, and remember we're going to fold the edge of the hat up, so we're not going to sew all the way down to the edge. We're just going to sew about halfway through that ribbed part of the sweater, and I'm going to hold it together with some fabric clips. Sew along all the way to the edge where you're going to leave it open. Alright, back from the sewing machine. We've sewn along the edge of both the satin and the sweater material. We're almost done. Now we're going to turn the sweater hat inside out and put the satin lining bad side to bad side on the inside of the hat. We're going to fold down the edge and pin them to the sweater, and that way we're going to stitch using our sewing machine the satin lining to the hat. Back from the sewing machine, we've sewn the satin lining to the hat all the way around. It's looking great. We've also sewn the open flaps of the sweater material together. So once the hat has been turned right side out, we sewed the two flaps together, and so when you fold it up, you're not going to see that seam, and that's how we're going to wear our hat. With the lip folded up, the satin lining on the inside, and our hat is basically done. Now we have a lot of sweater material left, so I like the design at the edge of the sleeves of this sweater, so I thought I would make some mittens out of the sleeves. That way I don't have to do anything to the edge. The only thing I have to do is cut off the sleeve and sew it to make mittens. Measuring out my hands, I cut the appropriate amount of the sleeve off. All I had to do was turn that material inside out and trace along the outline of my hand to make sure we had enough room in the mitten for my long fingers. Do the same thing with the other mitten. And basically all you have to do is sew along the raw edge where you cut out the outline of the hand. And once you've done that, bring it back and clean it up and try it on. Now I noticed that the mittens were a little loose around my wrist, and if I'm shaking my hand really hard, the mitten might even come off. So I decided to take a piece of elastic and sew that to the inside of the glove in order to cinch it in a little bit and make sure that it wouldn't come off of my hand accidentally while wearing it. So I just cut a small piece of elastic, pinned it to the glove to make sure that it's fitting snug around my wrist. And then used some fabric, some thread that matched the fabric material of the glove, and hand sewed the piece of elastic to the glove. Once I did that, I tried the gloves on again, and they fit pretty good. No more sliding off my hand. Now let's check out the final result. Thanks for watching.